I have issues with figuring out how to turn this. Okay. I have to stop the chat today because. Anyway. Give me a second here. I should have done all of this before I got on my live. I have to do this now because I swear some days I used to see people do this and have always been frustrated. Everybody going through this is frustrated. However, coming on and talking is a different level of frustration. And it's a different level of irritation as well. And give me a second here. I remember chuckling when it wasn't me and I was watching, and I did not have a clue that I was going to be the next one that was going to have to come up here. And though I had a small suspicion, I was like, because sometimes you talk about like a tarot reader, and I'm like, I cannot see that for myself. And these collective readings are collective, but if you're a part of the collective, then you're definitely gonna feel like some of these things are gonna apply to you. And there's some things in advance, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, I don't think that's gonna apply to me. I don't think I'm gonna be a part of that. Let me first of all play some calming music. So let's have a conversation today. Okay, let us have a conversation today. When I come on here, the same way, I don't just say things, I call people by name. I put up their picture. I see what they really have done and what's really going on. I don't come here. I don't come here just to talk. I've never been one who has wanted a public platform or any sort of social media platform, or like that is not my personality. Um I want to talk about, see, I definitely am inspired always to give messages to people of whatever sort that I feel inspired. It could be of hope, of strength, endurance, keep going, whatever. However, I like to be real with people because I feel like, and I've always said this and I've always felt this, managing people's expectations is very important. I feel like there are things that you don't necessarily agree with. However, when you have some time and you settle into it, you can come to terms with it. I just feel like there's other things, if you don't know in advance, or if it's painted in a certain way that is inauthentic, that it just betrays the entire thing. People definitely, I feel like there's definitely messages that talk about um like be hopeful, endure, and all of that stuff. And I've given my messages, and the purpose of giving my messages in this way, or the way that I've given them, even though it's always been, well, you're fighting or you're combative. Yes, I am. I'm fighting for my life. I am. I'm very honest. I'm upfront. Whatever I did it. Whatever I didn't do, I didn't do. It is what it is. That's how I feel. Because if I did, I like to take my time and contemplate before I do things. And if I feel like something is justifiable, then I don't feel the need to really explain it to people or to, I apologize for it. Like, none of that. I did it because I wanted to do it. If I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And so for me, it's like I'm fighting for my life. And you go through all of this, and there's a lot of messages that will tell you, like, God is saying this is not your fight, which is true. You can see the entire time why God has an issue here. You can see the disrespect. Now, I never expected coming into this that people would necessarily respect myself or any other human being going through this, because these are people that like to play God in people's lives. But when I see the disrespect to God blatantly, I am floored. And that part upsets me a lot. I find it, I've been saying this entire time, I have to stop being shocked. Why am I shocked? Why do I continue to be shocked? I want to stop being shocked. I continue to be shocked by different layers that I see. When I first started on this journey of speaking, before I was speaking, I understand. Before I was speaking, I would refer to God as a she, and I understand why people thought it was funny and, things of that nature. And considering the gang that is involved here, there's a lot of Mexicans, there's a lot of Latino people. I would expect, because Santa Muerte is a Mexican, they call her a saint, a deity, whatever you want to call her. She's not Nigerian, she's not all, like, she's big in that culture. And when I first started talking about her, I was very shocked, because I was thinking, wait, I can understand if Canadians don't really care. I can understand if maybe like the other races of people or cultures here don't care. I definitely do not understand people that, like, this is a huge part of their culture. Everywhere you go, at least in Mexico, there are skulls everywhere. They even sell it to tourists. It's on everything. Her statues are everywhere. Her altars are outdoors. Like, this is one of the only cultures where they have so much respect. They put the altar outside. Like, as a tourist or a stranger, you can come and put something on the altar. So I'm thinking to myself, I find this very crazy that, well, on one hand, I guess you can say there's so many devotees, and there is a mixed reaction to it. Like, people who are religious, people who are very religious do kind of look down on it. But it's so widespread. And so part of me is also thinking to myself, maybe it's because, like, I'm black, or maybe it's just like, well, it's another devotee, because there's so many. The thing about it is, in my city, people know for sure that what is happening and the way that it's happening, this is not a one-person thing. No matter what any one person tells you that they're doing, what kind of sorcery is this if one person can literally make people stop making money, businesses fall out the sky, all this kind of stuff as a group? And the way things are happening, it's happening in such a coordinated manner. Like, everything that is going out is coming back. For me, I just feel like, I guess, again, do not have to be shocked by other cultures. I'm just very shocked by this culture, by this particular culture having no respect. It's one thing to not agree, it's another thing to not have respect, because they do consider her God. Maybe not the one God, maybe not the only God, maybe not the highest God, maybe to everybody, but they consider her God. This is her fight. I see that through and through. Today I'm going to talk about what I started talking about this morning, non-reaction. And we're going to talk about it in a very realistic way, okay? One thing I have tried not to do when I come on here is to give people false hope or to pretend with people or to give the impression that everything is perfect. It is not. You can't even pretend with this because this is that irritating. So we are going to talk about non-reaction in a very realistic way. Not with fairy tales, because it's not going to work. It's not going to work just by saying that you're not going to react to something. It's not going to work just by, this thing takes practice. And I understand, I always talk about God and how she is, and she's a very non-reactive goddess. She's very calm. And one thing that she likes is she likes when we conduct ourselves a certain way. Some things are way easier than others. It's like healing things. Some things you can heal just by understanding something. Just by literally just hearing a word. Just by hearing, this person, it happens because of this. And with that understanding, you can heal it. And there are some things, no matter how many different ways you have to turn it around, you cannot heal it just because you understand why it happened. You don't agree with it, you don't know why it had to happen to you, etc., etc. With the non-reaction, this is saved to the end for a reason, in my opinion. I'm giving my opinion. This is saved for the end, to the end for a reason. You cannot start this journey and anybody can tell you not to react. You have too many things to go through before you can get to the non-reaction stage. Way too many things to go through. I've only been through 2 years. This is going on my 3rd. There is no way in holy hell that I could have started on this non-reaction thing from the beginning. They've been advising from the beginning, relax, be calm. See, and I'm gonna go through what I have to say, and I think I'm gonna touch on these points, a lot of these points that I have to say as I go through this. First things first, this is a Santa Muerte page, channel, whatever you want to call it. This is God. To me, there isn't just one, but I consider her my higher self. I don't consider her, she is a part of my spirit team. She is who I consider God. She is, worship and devotion to her is considered one of the fastest growing religions or spiritual belief systems. And there is a reason why, because she is an active God, she is alive, and she is real. People who are in calm situations, are looking for spiritual beliefs and that, looking for some sort of spiritual practice, you can choose anybody, I guess, and you can research, devote, get to know, whoever it is that you want to pray to, and it's one thing. When you are in a tight spot, when you're in a predicament, you need an active God. You need a God who is real, and you need a particular set of characteristics out of whoever you're dealing with. I believe that it is fast growing, not just because she is active and she responds immediately, not just because she travels with you, not just because she is ever present and ever living with you, but because her personality, her character, her traits, because she's very patient, because she's very calm, because she will anticipate things because of how active she is, because she's present. She takes people who had no interest in spirituality, any sort of faith based beliefs, and she comes to you. And whether she comes to you, you go to her, whichever one, but if she comes to you, she comes to you and she's living, she's present, she's active, she's faithful. When you're going through, and I continue to say, situations that are challenging, situations that are tense, situations that are delicate, this is who you need. This is the energy that you need with you. Life is challenging already without these kinds of situations. She tends to be popular in places where people are in dangerous situations. And she's the person that can get you out. I call her a person because honestly that's how you get to view her over time. She is a person. So when I first started waking up and I started praying and realizing there is more than one on the altar, there are three. I naturally started calling them wise counsel and not simply ancestors. And it became a place where I depended upon to go to for instruction, to bring problems, to talk through things, to get comfort. And when I don't know that everybody worships in this way because I haven't heard other people, like when I went to Mexico, they definitely talked a lot about ancestors and they talked about her, but they didn't talk about like God the Father. They didn't talk about like having altars that are set up to all of them. Not to say that they don't do it, I just haven't heard it, but this is how I set up my altar, and this is also how I find other people, like in African-based spirituality, also do the same thing. And sometimes people just kind of amalgamate different belief systems where whether it is like they'll pull from different things because spirituality is personal. So you might have different places that you pull. Listen, I don't know why this is the energy that's always been with me because I am not Latino at all. However, it just is what it is. She's who's with me. She is who has always been with me. And it's one thing if I am talking about an energy that just got here. She has always been with me. Literally waking up, I think back to so many things and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was you. Oh my goodness, that was you. Oh my goodness, that was you. Like the whole time. So getting to where I am on my journey now, you know, you set up your altar and your interaction with spirit, the connection becomes where it's almost like they exist inside of you. Not almost, they exist inside of you because you're carrying them as spirits, you're carrying them with you. And because they exist inside of you feel how they feel, you feel them. I mean, put it this way, I don't think that from where I'm standing, I don't think there's any other way to experience spirituality but to carry the energies that you serve. Because, or energy, maybe it's one for other people. I don't think there's any other way to be because of the things that I've seen, and more I'm just believing that that is the way that it has to go. Just as you see people worship demons and they are possessed, and I think that's the way all demon possession goes, is they start normally and very quickly, I'm not talking about years, there's a sharp decline and people can see, people know that something is wrong. The things that I've seen and the things I continue to see, you have to carry God inside of you in this relationship. It just is what it is. There's things that I started out and I would think to myself, well, people are gonna be nervous if I speak this way. Like, people are gonna say I don't feel comfortable with like having a spirit possess me or be inside of me. That you need them. You need them inside. They cannot protect you from the outside. I've said it all the time. I see it now. They cannot protect you from the out. You need to carry your energies. If you see them fit to have them on the altar, your ancestors are already your dead. They're already people you knew while they were alive in this lifetime. You already have trust with them. You already have soul ties with them. You already have energetic cords to them. They need to be on the inside. As soon as you get a connection deep enough with our Holy Mother, you need to carry her as well. Our Holy Father, you need to carry him as well. You do. There is no other way to do this. I assure you. There is no other way, because the energies that we deal with here are not respectful of God. They're not respectful of anything, to be honest with you. They're not respectful of anything. So, when we talk about non-reaction is deeper than just being irritated because something went wrong in your life. As adults, we deal with a lot of things that go wrong in our lives, and a lot of us, depending on what we come from, what kind of background we've had, if we've dealt with a lot of frustration, that is nothing. Not having a reaction is nothing. When something is sacred and you watch it, it's like somebody, it's how people feel when people like burn down a church. This is an outrage. It's an outrage. It's like how people feel when someone burns down a school. This is an outrage. So we're gonna have real conversations today. Very real conversations. Because I do not want to come here and have, and I thank God that I waited to do this, because I had the message already prepared. I thank God I waited. And I went through my day. I already knew the day was going to be some nonsense. I just knew it. You can always tell. You can tell based on just the atmosphere around you. Like, yeah, the reaction they didn't get last night, they're going to try to get that today. So we're going to talk about a realistic conversation about not having a reaction. Let me follow through with what I have to say, and then I'm going to kind of get to some points and, kind of pin things in the way that I want to. Because these energies, they oversee and they watch us. Not just watch us as in observe us or for us not to have privacy. They need to watch over us. They need to make sure that we are okay. Excuse me, the threats that exist here are more than just threats that you would think of. Normal people wouldn't sit back and consider or even think of some of the things that are happening here. I want to assure you that there are things happening here that you do not know about. There are things happening in here. There are things that have been, lines that have been crossed that are in the realm of what a person would call like abnormal, like just this is way too much. And you don't know what they are. So God has to watch over that for you, so watching over you, but they also have to be inside of you because of the level of attack that you're going to be under. You're in a position where you're waking up spiritually. If you're one of these targets for destiny swaps, is such a hot topic I find recently. I mean, it's always been in certain cultures because of how common it is, but I'm finding now in the US, let's say, or North America, it's become a very hot topic because the issue is coming up. The kind of attacks that you're going to be under and the kind of persecution that you're going to be under, these are underhanded things. These are very sneaky things. So these are things that are going to occur without your knowledge half the time because you are just ignorant of it. And one of the biggest things that they constantly do is they want to hide from you. First of all, they want to hide everything from you, but they want to hide from you people that come out and give messages, people like myself. People that come out and say, these are the things you got to watch out for. These are the things that are occurring right now. These are the attacks on you. These are the things you got to watch for. They want to get people like that under their control. They want to get people like that unaware. They want to run away with people like that into a messy situation, an embarrassing situation. It's all about mocking people and stuff like that, which, first of all, by the way, try to take that out. If you're one of those people who's triggered by people laughing at you, you gotta heal that trigger. Let it be. We laugh at people. Okay, I laugh at people. People laugh at me. There's embarrassments. I wouldn't say on both sides because I stand in myself. I stand in myself. As a woman, I respect myself. So there's what people say and there's the truth. There's what's happened. So I don't really worry about things like people laughing and that sort of thing. But if you're one of those people who you get concerned by people ridiculing you, you gotta let it go early. Because these people like to get people in a position where they ridicule other people. They like to get people in a position where they can do something embarrassing, say something about you, do something mocking to laugh. But really, they don't find it funny. They're triggered and they're upset and they're, you know, a thin line from snapping when they can't get you. When they can't get you. People want to get you, and God puts people in place to block that. For whatever reason, it might not be safe for you to get God's voice. And I'm not talking about a human voice all the time necessarily, but it might not be safe. And so in order for God to go around that, you might need to hear it from a person that you can trust. You have to use your discernment and use your gut. So while I'm on this point, don't take advice from videos that's made with AI, where it's just an image and it's like they're reading a script. Look at someone in the face and see, use your intuition and see if this person is real, if what they're talking about is real or not. I don't have to tell anybody how to know if someone's real, but is somebody real or are they fake? So don't just take advice. There are people who talk about God, they don't believe in God. So many people use the name of Jesus, of God, in vain. The Bible talked about it, but when I first started seeing it, I have been disgusted. I love Jesus, but they're chief gang stalker. They do spell work, they do black magic, they handle people, they abuse people through their interactions with people, they belittle people on purpose to break people down mentally and emotionally to take control over them. There is nothing about there's a witch that projects into my house, tries to play God in my life, and has the audacity to plead the blood of Jesus. You're a whole witch. This is witchcraft. And pleading the blood of Jesus. They don't believe in God. So you got to be careful when you watch things, when you see interactions, or when you hear messages, tarot, anything. You got to use your discernment. You listen carefully to everything that people say. And unfortunately, the first lie should be the last lie. The first inconsistency is the last one. You don't let it go. Sometimes, a lot of the times, the person doesn't know that the inconsistent information or the false information is coming from a manipulation. It's not necessarily they're a bad person. It's coming from a manipulation. They're manipulating the messages. But if this person doesn't know it's a manipulation, it is still dangerous to you because you're going to be put in a dangerous situation. So you got to be careful. People they need time to snap out of things. They need to figure out what's going on. And sometimes they do. I think a lot of times they do, but sometimes it might be too late. It's gotten too far. I want to put a pin in that and say, even when I see those situations, I understand that God is always in control. Why do I say that God needs to be inside of you? Because God blocks your spiritual eyes to let it happen. to let you fall into a situation because you got to go through it. And that's the truth. But there's sometimes you're not supposed to. And if you're not supposed to, God's going to block it. God's going to block that attempt on your life. But you got to stay alert while you're here. You got to stay alert. It's very, like, it's important. Question everything, question everyone, question all the time. Because you just never know. And I've experienced it where God has allowed my eyes to be blocked. Now, a lot of times God just puts you in a position to just observe things. And I've observed things, and I've seen God puts you in a position to see things. God puts you in a position to do things because God wants to reach a certain person, for good or bad, however it goes. God wants certain people to interact. People do not let me explain something to you. Please do not think you're gonna fool God. Don't feel you're gonna fool God. None of us are above this. We are human beings, after all. Okay? None of us are above God. None of us are smarter than God. I gotta repeat it so many times. There is gonna be no outsmarting God. When God lives in someone's heart and God chooses someone, this person cannot be taken. I don't care what it looks like. God will let people bind to people. God will let people bind to, people that are chosen. God will let them be abused. God will cover your third eye because God knows if you saw it coming, you wouldn't have allowed it. But it's always for a reason and a purpose. If God lets you do something and get away with it, especially in their face, please understand they wanted to meet you personally. I say they, not her. God likes to meet people personally. Do you understand me? It is personal. Ask a person who carries God in their heart. That thing you said, do you know why you said it? No. But they said something that was a very specific message for somebody, but you don't know why you said it. Or you don't know why you said it like that. I noticed that when I was listening to readings. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell did they just say? They don't know who their messages are for. They just know that they get up here and they speak. You cannot play games with yourself. God knows, God sees all these plans. While they're whispering their plans, God is right there. God is right there. Undetected, right there. Making plans in reaction to their plans. So when God lets something happen, you definitely gotta like roll with the punches and just, it's not easy. And that's my message here for today. I'm gonna give you the message and I'm gonna tell you it's not easy. I'm gonna tell you why. It's not easy, but God knows it's not easy. That's just, it is what it is. You will be put in situations that are crazy and it will test you. Your patience, it will test everything. Even if the situation did not come with purposeful triggering, it would still test your patience. To be honest, the triggering is not the thing that bothers me at all. I'm used to that. That's nothing. To be honest, if I'm really honest, these people are way more triggered than I am. That's the reality. They're way more triggered than I am. It's not the triggering behavior, it's the disrespect that I cannot understand why they do things like that. But I can also understand why this is so personal to God. Because in the beginning I was like, well, why did Mother feel like she has to come here herself? And day by day, I see it for myself. So I have a couple messages that have been on my chest that I really have to put out because I really feel like people watching this need to really grab onto these messages and take into consideration, because I always feel like I see things for a reason. I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed. Very disturbed. I'll go into it. Anyway, they are our higher selves. When they say divine masculine and divine feminine means you're carrying the energy of mother with you. Divine masculine means you're carrying the energy of father with you. Carrying this energy around changes you naturally, with or without your permission. It changes you. Though they observe your behavior, actually have allow here, allow to, but observe your behavior. They try to steer you in a particular way towards better behavior. Sometimes there is the assumption that we can all be like Jesus, but let me tell you, Jesus also was going through a bit too much when you think about it. That's why you see Jesus flipping tables in the temple, because there are certain things that you will see that will make it very difficult for you. The day he did that, they were gambling in the temple. He's like, wait a minute, this is a place to pray. This is disrespectful. This is what it looks like when you react. It is so disrespect. Some of the things are disrespectful in the highest. So it's like there's no boundaries. When people are in this energy, they have no boundaries. And you find it so crazy. Like, I understand a lot of it. I don't understand it. Let me not lie. I don't understand a lot of it, but I can accept that it's a reality. There are some things that are unacceptable. They are unacceptable things to do. They try to steer us towards better behavior, but it's not because they don't understand. It's because it doesn't help on top of everything that's happening. That's the truth. It doesn't make it any better on top of everything else. So we are working every day towards a particular reaction. We're working every day towards a particular place. And not just with reaction to triggering, but with the way that we carry ourselves, with the way that we behave. We're working towards it. Let nobody make you think that this is a one-day job or that you will be perfect right away. You're dealing with energies that have no self-control, easily triggered, fight people all the time, spiritually and energetically. So trust me, you are in no boundaries and no respect. So you are already in a position where you're fighting uphill as far as no reactions. If I'm speaking to someone who's going through this, chances are God wants you to speak to people as well, because it is very each one teach one sort of, I commented on this in my community section today. It is a each one teach one type of situation, where as you learn, your lessons are so valuable. The way you've overcome things is so valuable. Let me tell you something. Every single time I write something in that community section, especially about things I'm going through, there is a reaction. They're pissed off. Of course they're going to be pissed off, because either it was something that was already working or it was something that was going to work. When I gave the remedies about how to get over the exhaustion, they came in pissed off. Like, don't ever give remedies like that again. Don't ever give these people a way to heal. Well, it is what it is, but I know there must have been somebody in the energy that they were trying to drain. And there was somebody that was going through it that must have got right up, went and got that remedy, and got back to work. That's what my gut tells me. And that really screwed up the plans. So I'm here to screw up plans. So I am always going to be under attack. This is what it's like being sitting here. You're screwing up plans. People who were in this seat before me, when it was me observing, were screwing up people's plans. And they had a huge issue with those people. And so they have a huge issue with me. And that is just what it is. That's part of what this is when you get up here. And maybe it's not getting up here. Sometimes you just give someone a word. Sometimes I comment on somebody's thing. I make them aware. Now, I know they're going to have a very defensive reaction to what I've said, no matter how I say it. I said to someone the other day, I said, my love, you're so beautiful. She is. She's intimidatingly gorgeous. No makeup, nothing. This girl has beautiful eyes. She's a beautiful girl. And I said, you're so beautiful. I notice now that, she's, the way she's doing her hair and her makeup and everything. I said, I notice you've changed, but I just wanted to comment about how I love this look. Please just be careful of the energies that you have around you. because when they come around you, they like to change you so that the rest of the group can see we're grooming this person and bringing them in. Remember, I say you serve energies in deeds, not necessarily words. So as you start changing, you start dressing a certain way, you start showing more skin. Now, showing more skin inherently doesn't mean anything. Wearing hair or makeup or whatever doesn't mean anything. You can do that. But how does it translate? Like, you can do it one way or another way. And when you are representing God, they do it in such a way where it has to be done in such a way where it's giving off the energy of something else. Because you can come on and dress a certain way and no one thinks twice about it. They're like, oh my God, she looks so pretty today. But they have to do it in such a way where they give off an energy of, they're trying to take you to the dark side of the witchery. They're trying to take you to Jezebel. It's not reading the other way, because God doesn't care about if you wear makeup, if you do this or if you do that. In fact, God will push you sometimes like, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you, like, it's not a big deal. It's the way that it's translating. And so I must have said something to her about, people will look at you and they see your beauty, even though you might feel a little bit insecure. They see your beauty and they will feel intimidated by that, because a lot of times these are people who they feel the need to do a little bit more, and so sometimes people feel the need to send you beauty spells and do all of that stuff. And when you're talking about something as delicate as spiritual work, cleanses and all of that, because she's been through such a hard time, sometimes we have to be careful the way that we appear, only because we don't want to give off the impression that we're doing black magic, because it will scare off new people. We are not trying to go after people who want to do black magic. If you want to do black magic, listen, there are people who are going to tell people that everything I say is wrong, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Everything I know is not because I've had a tutor. It's been through experience and spirit walking me down. The experience that you get is people attacking you. You have no choice but to find your solutions. This is what I give, what I know, what I've tested, what has worked for me. When you come from a spiritual initiation like that and you're giving off information, the first thing people are going to do to disconnect you from your audience that you're growing is they're going to try to say, well, you're a black witch and you're this, and I can see that this is where it's going. I know that they're going to be defensive, but I'm going to trigger them anyway, even if I say it in a very nice way. There's no way to say it nicely. But somebody who understands, and they're going to see little anomalies and little weird behaviors, one day they're going to sit back and they're going to say, wait a minute, let me look at the difference between the two videos. Am I kind of, maybe? And when people see that she put up another video where she kind of covered up again, and then she put on more videos of the other way where I know that it sparked a thought in her, and she said, wait, let me, and then she went back, and you know what, that's a personal journey, but I sparked it. And sometimes that's all we can do. Not sometimes, most times that's all we can do, is we can spark a thought in someone that says, let me think about this for myself in my personal time. So when I come on here and God says non-reaction, it is because I'm going to be under so much attack for the work that I have to do, that I'm going to be a mess if I cannot get it back under control. That is the purpose. The purpose is not because God doesn't understand. It's not because God doesn't know. The purpose is because we are helping people. I have to help people. So I want to come across as someone who is level-headed. But I don't want people to know even why I'm like that. Because trust me, if you experienced it yourself, you'd come back and you'd be like, listen, your level of self-control is insane. I'm telling you, for the things that I experience and the things that I go through, it's insane. It's insane. So I don't want to go into all of that, but I just want to prepare you guys, not just if you're in a talk, but prepare you for the spiritual walk when you walk in the light. It's like there's some kind of thing that happens when you are spiritual in any way, where it's like a couple witches get assigned to you and they want to pull you down, and you're gonna notice that. And as you're being gang stalked, you're gonna notice that you're going through insanity. You're going through attacks that just don't make any sense for them to be that crazy. Um, they are our higher selves. So if you're a woman, we call in the collective, in the divine collective, we call women divine feminines, we call men divine masculines, and they are our parents. And you must build your connection to your wise counsel. You must connect to them very closely. Or else you will suffer not only a lack of direction, but a lack of personal, catered, very catered personal advice. So you gotta build a connection to that altar, but more than anything, you gotta build a connection to God. I thank the universe that I had so much time with them. Personally, I never knew that there was gonna be a time where it was gonna be interrupted. But I thank them for the time that I have with them, and they are always in my heart. So the communication changes. And like I said, if you are binded to spirit in this way, in the way that I am with my ancestors, then imagine if it was like a dark entity and you're trying to get it off and trying to clean it and it won't come off. You need an exorcism from that. This is not something you can clean. So a spiritual marriage is just not something that you can just decide you're going to get a cleanse from, you're going to do a ceremony. It's not like that. This is a soul tie, it's a soul bond. It should be entered into very seriously. There is not a day you're just going to wake up and decide you're not doing it anymore. You're not just going to blow out the candle on the altar and say, well, I'm done with it. There's consequences always to these things, good or bad. Good or bad. So I always say, when you have a relationship with Santa Muerte in particular, this is lifelong. This is a lifelong connection. This is not an altar you light to blow out. When I talk about her and I talk about the protection and all of that, that's lovely and a beautiful benefit. But at the core, it is a relationship. This relationship will travel through lifetimes with you. You will reincarnate, she will come back. You will come back with her over and over and over again. At least I do. And you will remember things that you don't know why. I take an oath every single day, twice a day, and I say, to an eternity, in service for an eternity. But that's just me. That may not be, service may not be everybody's calling. But I talk about the fact that when you fall in love with her, it is lifelong. There's never a day you can see yourself without her. For what reason? Even if all the problems stop, I look forward to the day when these problems are done and I can just sit somewhere and just have a glass of wine with her and say, oh my goodness, what a ride. I wish I had known her sooner. I wish she was known, not like she wasn't reaching out, I was scared. I wish I had known her sooner so that I could have spent so much time with her. But it is what it is. It's not my first regret in life, but it's one of my biggest regrets. I just wish that I were brave enough back then. But because I wasn't brave enough back then is why I can truly, deeply understand. And she's already said, it had to happen like this. It had to happen in this way. But, she was reaching out. She reached out several times, but it's like I was so scared. But she's been there the entire time. And I just think of all the moments that we could have shared together, all the times I could have known that she was there. She was there, but I could have known, I could have been, I regret. Because of my regret, this is why I can be so relatable, or I can be so empathetic with people who are now waking up, and I can say, I understand. I understand the visuals. I understand the way she looks. Can be scary. If you are intimidated by her looking like a grim reaper, and she does not always look like that. She doesn't always look like that. Sometimes she looks like a mother. A lot of times she looks like a mother in white robes and all that. Very comforting energy. I can understand with all the knowledge that you're receiving, to get all of this knowledge at once, oh my goodness, it would terrify you. You'd be like, wait a minute, what is going on here? What am I getting involved in? It's like that. It's like that. I think for people who are very new, all I can do is tell you the truth. You gotta use your intuition when you listen to me. Do you believe me or not? I don't have an agenda, I'm not getting paid for it. The truth is, it's very difficult to come here and get these messages. I gotta threaten people before I get on here. And it's not a threat, it's a promise. It's a promise. I gotta be like, look, I promised that I was gonna come here today. If you guys make it so that I can't come on live and block my channel or bother me or do any spell work, I swear to God, I'm not gonna come on. I'm gonna take a couple hours and then I'm gonna come on because I'm gonna make sure I come on today. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. They don't want people getting these messages. Because one thing I will guarantee you, they know she's real and they know nothing can beat her. They've went and gotten everything they can. They've conjured up everything that they can. And whatever they haven't conjured up, they know it's not a good idea. Because even the little baby demons are running amok. So you want to go get something stronger than that? I wouldn't recommend it. One thing is for sure, a billion things is for certain. When you work with Mother, nothing touches you. Add Father into it, add your ancestors into it, it's a done deal. That is why they beat us up so much. A lot of the girls that are reading tarot don't know who Mother is yet. Why? Because she knows we're nervous. She knows people are nervous. All I'm here to do is to be the welcoming committee. I'm here to tell you, if you need a guarantee, I got it. I'm not telling you you're gonna get a guarantee because I want to say it, because I like her, because I'm biased. Because I depend on her with my life every day. My life is in her hands. My soul is in her hands. I tell you the truth. I tell you the truth. This is not hope. This is a guarantee. This is certified. Coming and telling people about the gospel, about the word, about this and that in talk. It's talk. I come and I say, she's not going to just talk. She's going to show you. She's going to show you what obstacle. There will be no obstacles. If there are obstacles, it's so that you can experience, so that you can learn, so you can see, so you can walk through, so you can be groomed, if there are, because not everybody is going to take the path that I take, that people like myself take. People like myself have to take this path because of the stuff that is coming. What is coming, what we have to do. If I want to talk about her, if I want to give messages, if I want to save people, I gotta be prepared for stuff like this. I gotta be prepared for energies like this. This energy here is not, it's not a strong energy. It's a bullying energy, it's a childish energy, but it's not a strong energy. There are strong energies that are serious. So if I gotta do this, I have to be able to handle an energy like this. Not handle it in strength, but handle it in the way that I move, the way that I behave. Not just me, but you know, in general. She walks you through this entire thing step by step so that you can become who you are supposed to be. Now, I'm one of the ones that knows her by name, and I can tell you her name. But there are some people that are reading tarot and they're still saying Jesus, and they really do believe that. You can tell they really do. And so they haven't completely woken up yet. They've woken them up just enough to do a job, but they haven't completely. So their ascension is coming. And sometimes God has to get you by showing you the danger that you're in so you can be more open to accepting her, because just her appearance alone is going to be frightening. You do not want to go to war with an energy that looks like a Disney princess, huh? I love seeing her in the black robe now. I love it. I feel safe. I feel safe, but I love her in general. I love every aspect of her. I love every way about her because I know her. You get to that point over time. She just is a beautiful, I want to say person all the time. She's a beautiful person. So you get to know her and you're like, there is nowhere else I'd rather be. So she comes to us and she shows us in action first who she is in action. She doesn't come and say, hey, how are you? And she does to some people. I listen to people talk about her all the time. She comes to some people and she just wants to pull them out of a lifestyle, pull them out of things that they're doing that's no good. And just, it's a delicate thing. They're not at war with anything. But some of us, this is how she comes to get us. She is not just Mexican, like a Mexican deity. Like now it's global. It's going to be everywhere. And I'm telling you, she's going to be the biggest religion, bigger than the Catholics, bigger than the Christians, bigger than everybody. Why? Because she's real. How many people did the Catholics help when the destiny swappers and the spiritual criminals come and get? How many people did the Catholics really help? How many people who were Christian cried and prayed and nobody came? How many people who were Muslim prayed and nobody came? And etc., etc., etc. How many? But the people who cried and they call her and they say, Mother, I need you. She's like right here already. Like, what did you say? She's right here. She's always been there. She's always been there. And not just her. I don't talk about Father enough. I feel like he's going to get his platform. I just like, more divine masculines are going to wake up. Everybody talks about Father. I want to talk about her. I want to talk about her more than anything. She is always there. You go through something delicate like this, you need a mother's love. You go through something delicate like this, you need someone to cradle you. You need someone to give you comfort and hope. You need someone to send you tender messages. This is why sometimes I gotta stop fighting. I know I do. Sometimes I come like so rough. I have to be. Well, you don't know the kind of energy that I had to deal with. Very abusive energy. Very hostile energy. But she comes in and she is very loving at a time you need a loving voice. Trustworthy at a time you need trustworthy energy around you. Dependable, but she's very tender. She's very specific with us about being tender with her babies. And I agree and I understand because it was something that I loved when it was my turn. Oh my goodness, like just to hear that tender voice and knowing that they're speaking for her in such a tender way. And when you're going through this, it's definitely a them versus us energy. And so you're like, oh my God, I got a team out there. I have a team of people. They're with me. They're compassionate towards me. They understand my plight. It gives you hope. It makes you know that you're not alone. So you're listening to your team. So when I used to first come up, I used to be like, listen, these people could go to hell and da-da-da-da-da and whatever. And sometimes I say, listen, I know you guys are not happy with the way I'm speaking, but I knew I was giving people hope. I could feel it. And that's really what I want. I wanted people to feel strength when they felt beaten down upon. So sometimes I would come in that fighter energy because sometimes you got to develop that fighter energy to get rid of the fear. And that fighter energy was just developing so well in people that they really started beating down on me. It was becoming a problem. People were really standing up. And I would love to get back to that. Honestly, I loved it. I loved giving people that energy that said, you don't have to put up with anything. You don't have to put up with anything. You can fight this. Let me give you the tools that you need to fight it. Number one, our Holy Mother, because she's active and here with us at all times. Our Holy Mother. They used to, they will want to, they will fantasize about beating down on us for saying her name, and now I get why. Because she cannot be defeated. She has a plan for your plan. She has 10 plans for your plan. She's ahead of us. You can go to sleep and rest assured, okay, that once you give her your soul, your heart, your life, it is in the best possible hands. She will take care of you. A mother's love. A mother's love. Very important. I'm telling you, a father is very protective and all that, but mothers will lift up like a truck to get you out of it. A mother's love cannot be replaced. There are words people use that kind of denigrate this message and water it down and turn it into something that is not. Words like, Luciferian or witch and all that kind of stuff, just to avoid people approaching the message and getting the assistance. Just please understand that these are things that are said, just to push you away from really opening up your heart and your mind. This is spirituality. You take this journey with baby steps as you feel. You don't need to go down any path. I'm talking to people who need help. I'm reaching out to people who need help. I'm reaching out to people who need God's assistance and God's guidance. You must challenge yourself to explore new information. I had to, and it saved my life. Challenge yourself to open up yourself to things that you would not have thought you would be about before. And then use discernment and internal analysis to assess how relevant it is to you and if it's going to give you merit, if it's going to provide merit to you, if it's going to provide value, if it's going to change anything for you. Hold on one second. Challenge yourself to explore new information, please. Challenge yourself to just open your mind to things that you may not have been open to before, just to be able to get. You gotta understand what people. I used to say this before about taking the spiritual walk and really researching spell work, really researching the spiritual path, because it's very hard to protect yourself from things that you cannot understand. And in a lot of cases, people just simply cannot understand what's going on. They can't understand what is a destiny's walk, what is cloaking energy, what is astral projection really. They can't understand these things. In order to understand these things, you really have to, I don't want to say, you have to research it for yourself. You have to put yourself in a position to, you have to put yourself in a position to, I had to listen to a lot of what was going on here, because it helps bring context to the things that are happening, and it brings context to, it'll help you with cleanses, because not everything is for everything. Like, there's no one universal cleanse for everything. So it brings clarity to protection work and all kinds of things. So you need to understand what you're up against, and sometimes understanding it really makes you take things more seriously. I believe she goes by many names with many faces, and it is my personal belief, I just feel that way. When I woke up, I didn't call her any particular name. I simply called her Mother. That was it to me. It wasn't something she said. It was just how I felt. It was something that was intuitive. And, we call her Santa Muerte for sure. I also know her as, or experience her as Gaia, the universe. I experience her as Mayat. I experience her as an energy of justice. She represents justice to me. She's very just. She's very fair. So I do experience her as, I think a lot of energies go by many names in many different cultures. I think cultures, we always want to see the Most High as our culture, our race. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they have a particular race that, I mean, some of them do. Some of them definitely just belong to one race, but I also think too that I think that they are, how would I put this? I don't want to say multicultural, but they definitely are the same energy to different, like, you know, there'll be times, and I know I'm not the first ones. I've seen videos like this where they'll talk about, um was Jesus Horus in ancient Egyptian times, things like that, or who is Zeus in African, I don't want to say African mythology, but African spirituality. It's like different energies throughout time, different energies throughout time being someone different in a different country, in a different culture, or at a different time. So for me, I experience her as divine, not just divine feminine, but divine motherly energy. Um, as a woman, I say she's my wise counsel, but she is my higher self. There's a word I've been looking for as far as how do you say your higher self, because there is a word for it that in African spirituality where they have particular words for what a higher self is, and I don't remember what the word is. However, she is my higher self, and she is one of the Trinity on my altar and in my heart. And you know, as it's been put, the God's three. Um, so we do call her a Trinity. Um, there is, in my opinion, no better teacher or guide, and she is patient and non-reactionary when we fail, when we fall, but she's just an encourager. She just pushes you. And there has been no better teacher or guide that I've ever had. And I think she's really pushing me and pushing us in general to the importance of guiding others in the way that she would do it. Not because she's trying to, you know, push us down or anything like that, or force it, but it's only right. When people are waking up, they are very tender, and so, you know, we do want to show up in a particular way. For me, she is my blueprint for sure. Um, Nothing seems to get a reaction from her. In the beginning, I used to be like, did, did she just see what happened here? And yes, she saw. She anticipated it. She'll even tell you. She told me before, she's like, nothing is gonna change these people. They're never gonna learn. And I was like, my heart sank because for whatever reason I was like, no, something is gonna make people see the light. And it was like, no. And every single time that something happens and they continue their behavior, I'm like, they're never gonna learn. It is what it is. They're never gonna learn. Nothing gets a reaction from her. It was one of my first observations of her. It is what impressed me about her the most. At that time, I didn't think that I was going to be able to measure up to that, only because I thought, what a godlike quality. Like, this is the most impressive thing I have ever seen in my life. It made me respect her so much, and I do idolize her, to be honest with you. I think she is just the epitome of like everything that I would want to be. But now she's pushing me to get to that point, and it's a tall order. It's big shoes to fill. I can tell you, because the things that I see her, I see all the time. I don't know how God puts up with this. The things that I see her put up with, I'm gonna get there one day. I have to. I have no choice. But child, she is the energy of wisdom, the embodiment of wisdom. That's why I see her, one of the reasons I see her as Mayat is because she is the embodiment of wisdom. She's the, I call her genius energy, because the kind of things that, the way she reacts and responds to me, I've never seen anything like this. I've just never seen, I'm not saying that gods are not wise, but I'm talking about tactical in warfare. I've never seen anything like this. She is grace and the regal feminine. I think I've said this before. I have to keep repeating these things. She's virtue personified. Because I think a lot of the times people are only thinking about a Grim Reaper. And that's not even how she is. Like, she doesn't just come and she's karma. She doesn't just come and just take people and grab them. This is not how, this has not, never been my experience. If anything, before anything else, like, wait a minute, they're just gonna get away with that? That's just gonna happen? What the hell is going on here? It just doesn't work that way. And eventually you get used to it. You just accept it as it is in your life. It is what it is. You accept it. Like, I don't know how she works. I'm not ever fully sure, but sometimes you're content with not fully knowing because you probably wouldn't understand it anyways. I mean, it's genius energy. I'm not joking. She is more, her plans are more easily understood after the fact, because you're like, oh, like it hits you like one after the other. Like, you're like, there's no way anybody could have prepared for this. There is no way anybody could have counteracted this. Like, this is a multi-layered plan. She is the blueprint for our decorum and personal comportment. This is a very important statement. What do I mean by decorum? The way we carry ourselves. As soon as God is with you, there are certain things you're uncomfortable with. Like, you'll get dressed and there's certain things you're like, you know, I don't know if I really want to wear this. And you'll feel guilty about your behavior. You'll feel guilty about something you said. You'll feel guilty about a way that you reacted. You'll feel guilty because inside of you it'll feel uncomfortable. She is the blueprint for women on all of that. And a lot of times you have to learn it in good times, because in bad times it's gonna come into play. There are a lot of things you have to learn in peaceful times so that you can hold on to that when things get very difficult. We cannot simply say Mother is with us without carrying her traits, not just publicly, internally. So as you carry her as a spirit, it's going to change whether or not you want to. You'll feel uncomfortable with things that you used to be comfortable with before. I used to try to steer away, or have tried to steer away from calling her Santa Muerte, because she did not introduce herself to me in that way. However, this is also her element. So, you know, I only found out after that, when I saw pictures of her in other places with that name. I was like, what on earth? I didn't know. She doesn't come in that energy. She doesn't come as like death or anything dark and gloomy. She comes as a mother, as what you've always needed. She comes as hope. She comes in a horrible time. She comes to bring comfort, to bring you peace. And so, you know, I call her by her name because, you know, that's what she wants. But, you know, in our interactions, that's not what I call her. I just call her Mother. And that's just how I feel. It is a challenge to be groomed in her image. It is a challenge because it is a big role. And I'm not saying I'm ever going to have the image, the role, or, you know, divine feminine, or ever going to have the role of being her. But behaving like her, all of it, there are parts that are going to be very difficult. And this is how the things we're dealing with in the flesh are probably the things she's dealing with in the spirit. But she's teaching us how to deal with it. I am grateful to be an understudy. Thank you. I'm grateful to be an understudy. I'm grateful to be able to learn from the best, to be honest with you. I'm grateful to be empowered by her, but I also understand I have even more respect for her because when she's disrespected, she does not react. When people do things that are like high levels of audacity, she doesn't react. Now, who am I to compare? She's been doing this for far longer. You know, we wake up every lifetime and we have to re-wake up and relearn. But it's not easy. It's not going to be easy to regroom yourself, rework yourself into carrying this energy, being of service to this energy. Being of service to this energy is not just in action, it's not just showing up, it's a lot more than that. The way she behaves, the way she carries herself is for a reason. And that is because she needs to guide people who are going to be, who are in a tough spot, who need guidance in a particular way. It's a big role to fill, but with daily obstacle courses, daily, sometimes hourly, honestly, depending on what part of this thing you're in. But navigation is possible, and results are it's unavoidable. Over time, you just get there. With me, and I don't think just with me, I think with everybody, it definitely, learning any new skill, for me, I think for people in general, it's always going to be something where you get it and then you lose it a little bit and then you get it and then you lose it a little bit, and then it's like a back and forth, and then eventually it becomes more gentle. It's like learning to drive, where initially when you start learning to drive, it is going to be like, you know, the car is going to be jerky, it's not, and then eventually you get the hang of it. That's what it's like. It is, there's days where you get it and it's perfect. And in anything like this, day 2 is always the challenge. I want to say I have had a wonderful day 2. I've had a successful day 2 as far as day 2s go. Day 2 of any sort of challenge, breaking any sort of habit, is when the first day that you decide you're going to do something, it's amazing. And then day 2 you can crash and burn, and then it takes a lot of strength to get to day 3, day 4. I don't start recounting again, I just continue, because that's what it takes to break a habit, whether it be breaking a habit or forming a new habit. To expect that it's going to be like perfect every day, not really. Considering the fact that these energies were completely ignored yesterday and a lot of stuff didn't work, I consider today an amazing win, despite the fact that I had to threaten people before I got on here. Promise, not threaten, promise. I don't really, if I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I'm not really one to just say things in hopes. It's almost, by the time I say I'm going to do it, I already want to do it. I want to pre-do it before I'm already there. So despite that, because that was necessary, it was very necessary. It was very necessary. You know, certain things I'm like, listen, if God's going to judge me, God's going to judge me for it. It was necessary. It's very necessary. So despite that, I still call today a win. Because people will try to throw things at you one after the other, after the other, after the other to get a reaction. It was all last night, and it's going to continue. And when I woke up this morning and I said that this cycle is over and we got to close this cycle, I felt the panic. Because if the cycle gets closed, as in you're no longer participating in the nonsense, then absolutely it becomes a challenge to get anything done. Here's the reality. you're gonna know on your journey what you have to do, like your non-negotiables with spirit. One of my non-negotiables is that I gotta talk here on this platform. I gotta do what I gotta do. And it's a non-negotiable. I gotta show up. It's the biggest thing for me, and I gotta show up in any way that God says. If that means God's like, you gotta get on an altar and you gotta preach, then that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna do anything necessary to get that done. I want nothing to stand in my way anymore. I'm not putting up with anything. I gotta get it done. I gotta get on here and I gotta get it done. Now, if that means, if God's plan in my life means that somebody doesn't get their destiny swap, somebody's life goes straight down, somebody loses money, it doesn't have anything to do with me. I didn't make those deals. I don't know what that has to do. I just know what God told me to do. And I know my commitment. And when I make a one thing about me, when I make a commitment, I make a commitment, boy. I'm not one of these people. If I make a commitment, I make a commitment. I'm very serious about it. Once I give my word, I give my word. I'm going to get it done. So you got to know on your path, what are you going to get done? It needs to be like a non-negotiable. If your agreement with God is like, and sometimes you don't know why God is asking you something. God might ask you something and you're like, wait, but how does that benefit God? That benefits me. Just do it. If God says, I want you to work on this and that, or just one thing, whatever it might be for you. If you say, I don't even always give God a commitment on things, because sometimes I'm like, let me get my mind together first, because I don't like feeling when I say I'm going to do something. But once you give that word, I've stressed it so much. You give God a commitment, you keep your word. Keep your word. You give any spirit, for that matter, a commitment. You got to keep your word to them. The inability, it's gonna suck if the word that you gave them, or what you promised them you had to do or you were gonna do, you can't do it because you're being blocked. That sucks. That does suck, especially if they can't help you unblock it. So when you give mother your word, when you give father your word, whatever it is that they ask you, they ask for an agreement, keep your word. We must never forget to honor our guides, connect daily, stay in connection. It keeps us aligned and attuned. This is mandatory for any relationship. It is a mandatory part of having a relationship. Connect daily. Connect with them. Pray. Now, I'm glad this is the last point, because I'm going to tell you guys about the things that you got to watch for. I feel like I always come with bad news, unfortunately, but this is just what we're dealing with, unfortunately, on this path. So I am in my phase of people connecting, trying to disconnect the relationship with spirit. So what they do is they send someone in. So I speak another language, and so they weren't understanding my prayers. And so they sent someone in to listen into the prayers. She astral projects in here and all that. And so they're following the same script that they use with the tarot readers or anybody that's psychic. So they project themselves into your prayers, and they sit in front of you, and they are very animated. They react, they talk. I think they enjoy the fact that, I prostrate, I bow and stuff like that. I think they very much enjoy that. They talk, they do a lot of things. They mimic the voice of God so that they can get a position of control to manipulate you. It is what it is. So they try to put you in a situation where, where I was for the last 3 weeks, but I had to experience that. I had to go through that. I'm not going to go through why, but I had to go through that. One day, I'm going to be able to talk about all of this in full detail. But I had to go through that. As much as I was very upset about having to go through it, I had to go through it. Another thing that they try to do is they try to manipulate your messages by trying to speak into you. I'm not a tarot reader. I've never had God try to give me messages this way. So I refuse everything that they try to deliver the messages through your mind, like give you words and give you things and give you prompts and stuff like that. And it's like, God has never done that. So it's lunacy. They will repeat things in your head, and there was one thing that kept getting repeated, and it was Andromeda. And I ignored it for the longest time because I'm like, what? And then I looked it up and I saw a couple videos and I'm like, this is nonsense. And I said it in the prayer. I was like, this is nonsense. I don't know. Like, if you want me to know something more, I think this is nonsense. And I don't know about this. And then they woke up this morning and they said Palladian. And I was like, okay, well, tomorrow it's going to be Martian. And the day after it's going to be Saturnian. And then it's going to be like Venusian. It's going to be something else every day. As I don't take it, it's like Santa Marte is God to me. It's not going to change. I'm not going to come on here and tell people I'm from Andromeda and we are aliens and, no, we're not going to divert off of her. It's her word. Sometimes I think, I know people here do not understand the word commitment. Or maybe they've never seen this level of devotion, I don't know. But when I say I gave her my word, I gave my word. We talk about her, this is her channel. That's why it's named after her. Nothing's gonna change. You gotta take that attitude when it comes to your convictions. That's why I had another video where I talked about give God your non-negotiables. Or God gives you the I can't remember how I phrased it, but there are non-negotiables here, things that cannot be negotiated, and once God already puts that in your hand, you should be able to, it's like, think about it like somebody puts a job in your hand, you should be able to run off and do what you got to do without a reminder that this is what we're doing. So if you were given yellow paint to paint something and somebody comes over and they're like, what about this purple? What about the purple? Your job is to paint yellow. Just gotta paint yellow. That's it. Whatever your non-negotiables are, whatever you gotta focus on, that is it. It doesn't matter what energies try to infiltrate your prayers and your thoughts and all of that. It doesn't matter. The non-negotiables remain the same in the face of anything. She says to you, this is what I want you to do and how I want you to do it. One word is enough. You don't need 5. One word. This is what I want you to do. And you let it be what it is from there. We don't worry about a thing. You gotta have those non-negotiables for when the waters get testy. For when people try to come in and project in your prayer. Now, I want to interject and say, I think this is the most disrespectful thing I have ever seen in my life. I think it's the biggest violation that I've ever seen in my life. And I want to ask the question, I want to pose it publicly. If you were a God, if you were a deity, if you were a power, and you were raising up people to speak on your behalf, or just to love them, and people projected into their prayers, and you sat in their place for people to pray to you, what would you do to a person like that? I want you guys to leave the comments in the comment section. If you were a God and someone got in the middle of you and God and try to take their life, put them in a position where they're threatening dangerous people and try to take their life, what would you do to those people? If you were a God and God said, I want this to happen this way, and people got in the middle of that, what would you do to those people? I need people to consider that while they don't consider anything at all. Just consider, I always say, Imagine you hurt someone and there is no reaction. Imagine you disrespect someone and there is no reaction. Do you genuinely think that's a good thing? I'm gonna have to do a part 2 of this and come back to this. I really love when I just talk about her. It's very important to me to just talk about her some days and nothing else. Just her. The disrespect of doing that in her face is crazy because when they do that, even with the tarot readers, she is there. She's right there. It's not like these are not people that don't carry her energy inside of them. She's just sitting there. She's not like us. She doesn't have to respond. She doesn't have to react. She doesn't have to announce anything. She's a goddess after all. But she's a goddess of death and of war. So it's like, think about if people do not have respect for the energy that looks like the Grim Reaper, you really think that they're going to have respect for you? I mean, they just don't have respect. They just don't care. They don't care. This is why it's looking like this. This is why. Now, personally, I don't mind if people blame me for what they're going through. But she doesn't want people to blame me because this is her work. This is not my work. But I don't care who they blame. I don't care the gossip. I don't care any of it. The reason I don't care about any of it is because they deserve it. So any way they lash out, I don't care. I think it's so disrespectful. What happens when they do things like that is that people who God puts together, they come and they tear it apart. People who God has intention, that God brings these people together for whatever reason, whatever plan she has. And the Bible says, who God puts asunder, let no man tear apart. And and everybody doesn't have to be like me, right? But I talk about, you may not believe in what somebody else believes in, but when it comes to spirituality, would you, okay, so let's say you're a normal person, you're not into witchcraft or anything like that, right? And you see a witch as a Christian, you see a witch and they're talking about, oh, well, I service Lucifer on my altar and this and that. And they're proud about it and everything. Would you then go and try to fight Lucifer and all of the... Why would you do that? No. Even though in your mind you're thinking, oh my goodness, but you would just pull away from that. That's your natural reaction. You don't want to be involved in that, regardless of what you think about it. Excuse me. So for you to really think you want to get in the middle of the relationship with God so badly that you start bringing yourself in a prayer, I just think, see, this is non-reaction right here. This is non-reaction. It is. Because I think it's the highest disrespect. I think everything else they did before pales in comparison. And I always knew it was absolutely ridiculous. And I've been disgusted for a long time, but I mean, I am seeing it for myself. Oh my goodness. Wow. So these are the energies and the characters that we're dealing with here. Be prepared if it hasn't happened to you yet. It's happened to you probably. And, you know, God does not need words for us. We maybe talk to other people their words. God does not need words. You'll see them projecting their energy into your space and doing things like that. They're projecting into a space where God is there. You know, there are others who've projected in and they've been chased out. They bring new ones all the time. There's always fresh meat for the grinder. You never have to really worry about this kind of nonsense. This is nonsense, and we gotta learn to just let it pass. If God is allowing it, it's for a reason. To me, I even say they must be forcing these witches to do this. There's no way someone is volunteering to do this nonsense. There is just no way. And I don't know if they definitely teach them is in this little Mickey Mouse coven, because they all do the same thing. They have the same tricks. They're weak. It's not responsible to put people in this situation, but there are people who agree to it. I don't think initially they're forced. They agree to it. They agree wholeheartedly. And I think slowly but surely they start understanding what's going on here, that this is maybe not what they signed up for. And I don't know what to say. So many witches have already quit this job already. I don't know what to say, but all I can say is prepare yourself for any low, disgusting thing. Your values are not their values. They don't respect God. They don't value God. So of course they're going to do any kind of crazy thing. You got to really, really not value God at this late hour, when your whole life is already falling apart, when you were suicidal 3 weeks ago and God came and saved you and everything, and you do this kind of thing to try to block someone's prayers and do all of this and listening to someone's prayers and all that. And I just think, oh my goodness, I think it's very sad. It's not sad, it's disgusting. It's very disgusting. So please let that be one of the things that you prepare for. My recommendation on dealing with this, because I'm still going to pray. I'm still going to pray with precautions, of course. I'm still going to pray. Is they're impersonating energies out there, and they're doing a bunch of like weird things, but you need to pray. You still need to meditate. You need to pray. You need to have discernment. The messages you get in meditation are definitely going to be, you got to redirect the messages. You have to redirect yourself with the messages that come in, because the messages are no good. Like, they try to send me messages like delete the channel. Why would I delete God's channel? This is not even my channel. I'm doing this for God. I'm a messenger for God. It's not my channel. So this channel is definitely not getting deleted. But they will try to give you certain kinds of messages and whatever. Use discernment and sit down and think. Do not meditate or not pray because you feel like you can't trust what is out there, or what is. Just don't let them touch you. Don't, if you don't feel comfortable bowing, then don't bow. If you don't feel comfortable doing certain things, don't do it anymore. But go into prayer and talk to God. And say anything you want to say to God, just the same way you did. The same way you did. There are things that, once they feel like they want to read your mind, they've been doing it for a while, probably without you knowing. Once they feel like they want to read your mind, they want to anticipate things that you're doing, they want to whatever, they're going to do it either way. Either way. They're going to do it. I ask for anything. I don't care. Last night I was like, these people shouldn't reincarnate. This is my recommendation. And she looked concerned. I was like, what are you looking concerned for? But I don't know. I don't think that was me that did that. It was like, what is the concern? They sent a death spell. So that could have been my kid. So, we could have been here crying about that. Would that have been better? And she's like, no. I was like, so I think they shouldn't reincarnate. She's like, I was like, is that yes? Yes. That's an agreement. That's a spiritually binding agreement. That's like when someone comes into your dream and sleeps with you and they bind something on you. It's a spiritually binding agreement. You agree that you shouldn't reincarnate. You want to come into dreams, then God's going to play back. I don't think that was me, because I've never done anything like that with God before. I pulled out a stack of papers and everything. It's like, oh, you want to play cartoon games? We want to animate the prayers. We want to be cartoons. So now they put a stack of paper in front of you. She actually had the nerve to look at the paper and read it. And I'm laughing. I'm thinking, there's nothing on that paper. A stack of papers. It's probably, you buy the printer paper in the pack and you give somebody this stack. I'm like, this is my report. This is like Spirit starts playing games with them back. Like, oh, you want to come here and play games? I don't think that's me. I've never, they didn't put me to write no report. I'm not a report duty. So I give this example to tell you, yeah, I talk a lot. I don't talk too much. I talk a lot. I am here to be BBC, CNN, TBS, and everything at ABC and all that because you're an idiot and you're minded to that. And I like to report on good things as well as bad things. It is important. When you play with my mother, she will catch you to catch a rat because that's the energy that you're carrying. To come in someone's prayer as a thief, as a rat, is a low vibing energy. I talk too much? No, I talk just enough. I will talk more. My job is for exposure. I'm a flashlight. I will expose this nasty behavior because people need to know who they're praying to. Say your prayers. Say your prayers. Talk to them anyhow. Be upfront. You want to go to God and say, such and such happened today. I didn't like it. This is what I would like to request. Tell them so they know how you talk to God. But know that this is what's going on. I said, wait, is mother hesitating? Are they hesitating? Why are you going to hesitate on the report? I was here to do the report. What do you mean? I said I don't want them to reincarnate. They need to be wiped off and they can't come back here. Are you a car? No. I need an answer. First of all, I need an answer. I need a yes. I need a confirmation. Is it a yes? Mm. 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 No, I need a yes. Is it a yes? Oh, it's a yes. So you agree you shouldn't come back here. Thank you. Thank you. You know when someone comes to you in your dream and they do something like that, it's a spiritual agreement. You are now in agreement because you didn't contest it, you confirmed it. So now you've confirmed on behalf of the group you guys cannot come back. We thank you for your loyal service. I will see you guys tonight in meditation and in prayers again. You will continue to come here until you dig a grave. You will just drop yourself inside of it, trust me. God is not your mate. God is not your little friend. I bring this story here, this anecdote, as a word of celebration. To know that our God is real and alive and sees everything and knows everything. Knows it before it's going to happen. Okay? They know that spiritual agreements are binding, but this wasn't in a dream. Somebody wasn't vulnerable. This was in a meditation. Or sorry, not even a meditation, even a meditation. You said this is in a prayer. This is God's fight, and I still have to meditate and I still have to pray. Now, God has asked me not to be reactionary, but they didn't say I can't troll. They didn't say I can't troll. Because they'll try to trigger you and they'll say, don't react, don't be reactionary. Well, is it a reaction if I plan to do it? Which brings me to my next point. I want to put some things in place here mentally. So one of the things that I need to give back, especially if you are a divine masculine, you carry fatherly energy, okay? God of war. They like to keep you in a pacifist energy, in a peaceful energy in order to, like keep you from knowing your strength and your power. It is really important that you exercise every gift that you have and you work on it. I want to put that out there. It's important that you work on it. Work on it. This is not gonna bring karma. You have a job to do. You gotta do your job. That's it. You got things to do. You gotta do what you gotta do. And what you continue to allow will not just continue but get worse. It will get worse every day. Every day there's gonna be a drama. You cannot continue this way. So you gotta learn, if you have gifts, you gotta embrace them and you gotta step into them. When God says not reactionary, does not mean God's not gonna put hands on you. Okay? I don't mean like physically, like real, but God's not gonna take care of your issue. They are. What they mean is you don't get out of control of yourself, or like you don't need to get like that where you're just making rash decisions, because you will find yourself making decisions that are so foolish just because you're upset and then you regret it. This is one lesson I've learned a long time ago, to be honest with you, to just take my time and just monitor a situation a little bit better before I just like fly off the handle. Take your time. Take your time. Just because you say you're non-reactionary, it's giving people hope that now they can beat upon you and you're going to ignore it. No. No. And just because I'm ignoring nonsense in one day does not mean I will ignore it every day. This is not how it's going to work. And this is not how it's going to work for you either. Non-reactionary does not mean that you're not going to defend yourself. You got to defend yourself in the spirit. Defense is not the same as just cleansing or protecting. It's different. It's not every day. If you sit there and be beat upon and be beat down like this every day, it will beat down on the love in your heart, your character. It will strip you of your humanity over time. It will exhaust you. You will be frustrated. And what you're trying to avoid, which is not being reactionary, is you're going to be the opposite. You're going to be very reactive. You're going to be easily triggered because of what you're going through. There are only so many times that you're going to explain to someone what you're going through and why you're behaving this way. Take care of yourself. If you wouldn't allow someone to tackle you down in the street, then you shouldn't allow people spiritually to gang, because they gang up on you. You shouldn't allow people to gang up on you, and you shouldn't allow people to do certain things. And I find it makes sense to just make an example in the beginning. Just really, because this one thing, two things, it's like make an example in the beginning so they understand. And then if they push you a second time, go further the second time. I'm saying to do it. I am. It's not something you want to do every day, but in the beginning, if you have to, it is what it is. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. If they felt like they manipulated me in particular to get that reaction, they think it's funny, but in their heart, they know that they created a problem that was worse before. That wasn't as worse before. Or they made worse, I should say. It was bad enough, now it's worse. It's a farce to laugh at this. It's a farce. It is a farce. To think that this is funny. This is not funny. This is not funny at all. So this kind of nonsense that's happening here, it has to end. And I have to draw lines with what has to happen, what is not happening. And when it comes to you, I encourage you guys to have very firm boundaries as well with certain things. Anything involving God is something that I'm not going to joke about at all. At all. And when these messages need to come out, I understand the importance of the messages coming out. It's like, it's not a joke. It's enough of the nonsense. It's not a joke anymore. People want to talk in your head. They want to interfere with prayers and meditations and whatever. I welcome it at this point, because let them talk to God. I'm being honest, I really don't think it was me, because I just don't do stuff like that. That came out of nowhere, that agreement. I usually don't do things like that. So, you know, they want to keep doing things like that, indemnifying an entire group, thinking that they're smarter than the Most High. You gotta walk through this process. Walk through it. Don't because you get I feel the need to say it because I know that the betrayal you're gonna feel by feeling that God is, you don't know the voice of God. The betrayal you're gonna feel by thinking you're not sure, how do I put it, who you're speaking to. That is what they're trying to accomplish. They want you to feel like you don't want to come back in prayer, you don't want to come back in meditation. And I think, what a vile thing to do. I'm not even thinking about it from my perspective, I'm thinking about it from God's perspective. Like, what a vile thing to do after you woke somebody up. That's what hurt me the most about it. So, you got to keep going in prayer, keep going in your prayer. You got to keep talking to the Most High, keep talking to the Most High. Trust and have faith in God. Trust and have faith in God. Know that God is very real. God is with you. God will never leave your side. God will never leave your heart. God will never leave your soul. God will never leave you hanging. We just don't know the day, the hour, the minute that God is going to just put this whole thing to rest. But God is not here to watch this thing go on eternally. That is not what that is about. And when you're in the, when people can, I don't know if they can sense that, well, they should be able to sense from a long time ago that this is like out of hand. But this is what makes people lash out even more, is looking at a situation and thinking, yeah, this is already past the point of being bad. I would just recommend very strongly that you don't abandon your prayers. Don't be so nervous. This is my recommendation. Don't be so nervous that you feel, because you know it's natural to feel that way. Don't be so nervous that you don't pray. You'll feel them attack you actually the next time you go into prayer, because like, damn, it didn't work. No, not even for one night. Not even for one prayer time is it not going to work. Talk to God anyways. Tell God what you ask for protection. You ask for whatever you ask for. Go ahead. No one can block your prayer. It's coming from your heart. Whether you say it in your head or you say it out loud. If people want to scry and get in the middle of that, they will still do that. There's nothing that you can, at this point in the game, there's nothing that can be done. You just gotta, like God said, it has to play out the way that it's playing out. There's nothing that can be done. Keep your connection to the Most High. Please still meditate. Connect to your higher self, whether that's mother or not. I connect to both. I talk to both. I know that they hear me. I know that they are with me. I know that for a fact. And you're gonna discern between who they are and who, you know, the ones with absolutely no respect are. This is all I can say. Absolutely no respect whatsoever. None. So this to me is a successful day. There are a bunch of things that have happened in the day that I have navigated well, to be honest with you. This being one of them is just to speak about this, something that would really upset someone, and I know when I've seen this happen to other people, I know they've cried about it. It is impossible not to, because it is such an outrage to do this and for this to happen. But anybody listening, I just want to tell you, God knows, God sees, and God hears everything. We all know that now. If people can scribe, God knows. Do not worry about anything. Keep your connection. It is yours. It is a beautiful gift. People envy that connection. Keep that connection no matter what. Keep it. Pray every day, all the time. You may not feel comfortable with talking to God all the time. Keep your connection. Keep your connection. And if you want to be slow but sure to get back into it, just know If they're gonna scry that God does not talk with words, they gotta sit quietly if that's what they're gonna do. And they might as well, because they listen as soon as there's the prayers come, it's like a bunch of them connect at the same time to your prayer. I think this stuff is distasteful. I think this stuff is crazy. But God knows why that we're going through this, and God knows why we're experiencing this. And I think in a way God wants to experience that. God wants to, I don't know. It's so hard to talk about. So thankfully, for me, I continue on. I continue on just saying what I need to say. And one thing I can say is, this channel is going to continue one way or the other way. By any means necessary. By any means necessary, I gotta continue the work that I promised God that I'm gonna continue. And so just know whatever your non-negotiables are, get up and get it done. Don't lag in it. That's my encouraging word for today. Just keep praying, keep up with your non-negotiables. God hears your prayer. Multiple people might hear your prayer now, but God hears your, not now, they've been doing this for a while, with me particularly. So God hears your prayer either way. I think it's crazy that they want to come and now interact as God. I think that's just too far, but it is what it is. If they want to interact with God directly, that is no problem. There's no problem to do something like that. We are going to experience a lot of things, This somehow I think is not the bottom. I hate to see it. Oh my goodness. I hate to say that this is not the bottom, because once you get this far, and they've been doing this to a lot of people for a while. So anyway, this is my message. I want to read a psalm. I want to read a psalm that I wanted to read tonight either way, because it is a psalm that encouraged me. I'm going to see if I can find it. I just wanted to come and give my message tonight. So let me see if I can find this psalm. I should have probably looked this up before, but I think I have it marked in here. Oh man, I'm sad, but I can't find it. I'm gonna find it though. It was, wait. There we go. One of my favorite psalms. And today I said this is the psalm that I'm reading. Now usually I let God pick, but for whatever reason today I was coming home and I was like, I want to read this psalm. The first time I read this psalm, I cried. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a, what would I call this? Because I want to mark this. This is Psalms 21. So I used to see people who in their profile, they had like Psalms and like spiritual chapters and stuff in their bios. And let me tell you, I finally put one in my bio. I was like, what resonates with me a lot? This would be like my second one if I were to put one in my bio. Then I would end up with like way too many, but it's very short. Psalms 121. I will lift mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. When I first read this, it's because it was the first time this one tarot reader came from jail. They arrested this girl. I talked about it. I was crying that morning. I was so happy. I was like, oh my goodness, I prayed for her to come home. Thank you. I'm thanking God personally, like it was a personal thing, but this is huge for me. People suffer to give God's word. We suffer. And people try to put us in positions to die. The same person that is definitely going to face an issue for what I said about her indemnifying that group, through her handiwork, tried to put me in a position to die. They put me in a position to do so much, to break my connection with God. And I think she expects some sort of like sisterhood or loyalty or something. That's something about evil people. Like they definitely do expect you to like, they get shocked and affronted. Like, what? I thought you, I don't know. To me, that's a death situation. That's like, might as well be a death spell what they did. God allowed it. God allowed it. So it is what it is. So, this is important to me because this song, I like it. I will remember this girl every time I read this, only because this girl, she did not cower in fear when she was called. She did not go and run. She did not back down. I say all the time she did her job. And her job was to stand up and give the word, give hope to people, give her messages. And I just think she is one of the strongest people ever, because it's not easy to lose kids in this kind of thing. This is what happens when you stand in for God, when you stand up for God, is they will do things like take kids from you. They will do all kinds of things. You will really, there is no loyalty on that side whatsoever. And so those of us who stand up here and all the beating that we take from people and the kind of things that they do are so horrible. And it's crazy because the person doing this, pretending to be God in my dreams and in my sleep, but not in my dreams, sorry, but in my prayers and all of that, it's like this person knows for a fact, they know the truth. They know that I've never had any interest in this person, that they're trying to make me seem like a side chick and all this kind of stuff. And she knows it's by her hand that people can say these things. And it's like, you agreed to do something like that. So, now you're in the middle. There's going to be war on every side of her life. That's how these problems come when you do these things. War comes not just, you don't have one enemy. There's war on every side. There's going to be war on the side of, with these people, there's going to be definitely at odds with God, because it's like you're trying to get people killed. You're trying to break up situations that, why are you trying to do things? Why are you trying to destroy people's reputation and do all this kind of stuff? So, these are the kind of things that we are facing. This is very serious. So, please still pray, but just use discernment and intuition at this time. Think about everything twice. Don't just run off with things. um, they try to they will try to influence, like for me, I have a channel, so they don't like when I speak and say things. Oh, don't just take things that you see and say no, 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 no. I decide that. I decide what I do. So you're gonna have to get in a situation where you're gonna decide what you do, and God's gonna help you on your decisions, whether you know it or not. And you know, so I just give what I have to give. I'm sure tomorrow it's gonna be another little drama as usual. You know, there's only so much we can do in these situations. We just have to roll with it. That's what God said. Just go with it. Just let it play out. And my goodness, is it playing out? So anyway, this is my message. Psalms 121. I look to the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord who created heaven and earth. And keep praying. And if you don't want to pray, just read the Bible. Read the Bible out loud. Listen to preachings. Whatever it takes, whatever it is, to keep your connection. Don't let one day go by without that connection. Don't stop. Don't quit. This is just the life that we're living as spiritual beings. V2K is psychic attack. V2K is psychic attack. And, you know, non-reaction doesn't mean not trigger people, because people are going to be triggered coming in my head. They are. They're going to be hurt and wounded emotionally coming in my head. It's just not a nice place to be, you know, to be bothering people like this and doing this kind of stuff. Non-reaction means not losing control. Non-reaction means not coming on here and treating people poorly and whatever, you know. If you've agreed to do something like this, it's safe to say it's time to walk away. It's don't let it get worse than this. That's the best that I can say. You know, us being from the same place, that's the best that I can say. It might be a good time to walk away. You know that. I don't know what anybody's particular situation is, and quite frankly, I don't want to know. I don't want connection. I don't want to know. But it's probably a good time to walk away from this situation and try to get some repentance, you know, leave it alone. That is my message. God didn't tell me to say that. That's me saying that. You might want to just leave it alone. These are not the kind of people that you want to align yourself with, or with this problem. And, you know, God didn't put me up, no one put me up to it, but I'm just going to say, just might want to, I know, I'm talking to a witch here. I know, but I still just feel the need to say it, because it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better or easier. It's troubling situation when your sleep starts getting disturbed slowly but surely, because you're troubled by the things you're seeing and experiencing. Oh, it's going to get dark and crazy. So, that being the case, have a good night. Try to stay in peace as much as it is possible. I know it is very difficult. I say this anyway because I know it is very difficult. I know we all are going through things that make you shake and scratch your head. And one more thing I want to mention before I go. There's always troubling things to say. But one more thing I want to mention before I go. Please do not reconnect with people from the past. You must know this by now. It's just, nowhere is safe. Nothing is safe. People from the past have been popping up in every way, but they've been doing that this entire time. When they don't have connection, I mean, any way that they can bully, and force their way into your life, they will. Past family, past friends. Don't give money to homeless people. They're going to take the actual physical money and then they're going to go work on it. That's for a fact. Don't give money to homeless people. Don't give your cash to anyone. If you work and you make cash, clean the money first. There's, my goodness, there's no end to what will happen here, okay? If you don't get involved, my advice always has been, don't get involved in people who have issues with other people. Try to mind your business. Yeah, okay. There are many people in this place that are minding their business that don't want any connection with this already. Be like them. Go ghost town. Don't pick up the phone. Don't get involved. Yeah, I know they beat on people, they bully people, they do a lot. They gang stalk people. I get it. I'm living it. I'm living it. It's not fun at all. So if I'm talking to you, connect to God. I am giving the solution. How am I alive this long? How have things gone this way for me? That's why I read the Psalms. This is where my help comes from. This thing is much deeper than people. Oh, it's so much deeper than what you see on the. It's a billion times deeper. The vibrancy that you have right now, today, looking fresh, 3 months. You'll see, boy, they will take your home from you. Things will happen fast, things will fall fast. Word to the wise, especially when you see what you see and you know what you know, and you see that you've been lied to, and you see that what's been evil is not a word for this. This is worse than evil. This is worse than evil. This is people carrying multiple entities at a time. When you listen to a person's prayers, and the prayers are in thanksgiving, and the prayers are in all of these kind of things, and a person doesn't want to get involved and do certain things, and then you guys manipulate what it tells you. It shows you who's the liar and who's not. I recommend that you go in the spirit and you go apologize for that, and you strap up yourself with God, and you talk to God, and you try to get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Trust me. Even people who cooperate get beat down on, get gang stalked. Oh, I know. They have connections in the bank. They do this, they do that, they do everything. I know, I get it. I get it. But once you get in this, you're in this. Everybody, I've always said, and I'll continue to say, everybody here needs to talk to God. I swear. I don't know. I can't guarantee that God is going to respond, that God is like, because if I were God, I would be more than offended. But it doesn't make sense to continue down a path that is this destructive. It doesn't make sense. And I know you can stop at, or you could say, well, it's no. Saying, well, I already did this, I might as well, I just feel is a mistake. It's like, don't go down in like a hail of bullets because you've already done one or two things. My recommendation, everybody here has the right and the authority to do whatever it is that they want, but it's my recommendation. I think it was too far, and they've always been going too far, but it was just too far to allow to continue, because I have a feeling this is not the first time, to continue to go down this path. I think it's too much. It's too much. I don't think this is a good person who got manipulated, but that's up to people how they take it. But anyway, I don't want to go on too long. Thank you for your time. I think it's been 2 hours. Thank you for your time. Please take my messages seriously, please, because I'm not just getting on here to say things. And as we all try to react a lot less and close our cycles and remain committed, I just want to say, expect the absolute worst. Expect the worst, please. And just know that it's coming. It has always happened, but just expect that even if you weren't trying to close out a cycle, it was still going to be this bad. So just expect that it is what it is. Have a good night, and remember that God loves you.